is I got a whole bunch of wiring done here without the camera around, so I'll sort of try to tell you what I did, because this is one of the parts that I was sort of confused on, that not very many people touch base on it too much. So like, I'll try to give you a good idea of what I did. So anyhow, I laid the harness in here, basically just laying the fuse box, the ECU, and the battery cables, starter solenoid, and fuel pump regulators there too, just because it ended up there. And then I completely cut off the handlebar switch that had the headlights, blinkers, and hazard switch on it. Oh, my soldering iron was melting the bag there. Ooh, that stinks. Anyhow, so yeah, I cut off the handlebar switch. Well, cut out all the wires for that. So those followed me all the way into the harness for the speedometer, because the headlights are there, blinker lights are there. Got rid of all the relays for those, and a lot of wiring in that harness. So that was the first thing I did, was got rid of the switch. Opposite of this one with the kill switch and the starter, right? Because you need that. So I left that one. And then anything that needed to go to the engine basically was somewhere fucking jungle fucked back here, coming out at some point. So what I did was, I would take one of those wires, figure out where it's supposed to go, and then I cut the ground from it. And then when I cut the ground from it, it allowed me to take the other wire and pull it all out of the harness and run it back this way to where it needs to go. So I have everything for the engine ran back here, and pretty neatly. And I was able to do all of that with only cutting these primary wires here. There's only 5 wires here. So I just cut apart some 6 wire actually, so perfect. Some 6 wire trailer wire there, and I pulled it apart. And I'm going to use that to wire in there to go in between. And these wires all go up front here to these 5 here. They were the only 5 I had to cut, because they were just too tight, and you'll notice that when you go to pull them apart. So all in all, we didn't do too bad. And then back here you end up with, so like up here at the spark plugs, here's a ground that I was talking about that I had to cut back there. Ground, ground for whatever it is, ground for the fuel, fuel pump. There's grounds for everything, ground for the fan I had to cut. So now all I gotta do is wire up ground wires to all of these that come together and end up right here with these the chassis grounds here, and they'll get grounded. So I'm gonna get all of that done, this wired up, the ground's done, and then I'll give you another update, show you how it's looking. So hopefully you understand that. If you have any questions about this, ask me, because I've done it now and I sort of have a light understanding. And this will only really work if you're using this for racing, because I basically eliminated everything. And now for the brake lights, I'm just going to wire up my own brake light. And before I loom all of this, because I have like a nice loom protector here that goes over all the wiring, and before I do that, I'm going to run all the brake wires too. I'm going to put headlight on it, probably just a little light bar. So I'll have all those wires ran. And also, actually, good thing I remembered, is 2 power wires. Well, 1 power wire and a ground to this power steering motor. And we should be pretty good. So I'll get all that done, and then I'll touch base with you guys again. Guys, I keep surprising myself with the amount of footage I get in these small little cycles I use, so I'm probably gonna put the next part into another video. We'll see what happens, but I just finished up wiring that, and I've got to do all the grounds now on the back end and bring them into those chassis grounds. So, and that's probably about the equivalent amount of soldering that I just did on those 5 wires going back there. So we'll get that done. We got the 5 wires ran back, the live ones I was talking about. Now I'm gonna get going on the grounds. I'll wire all the grounds up, and also I stopped at the auto wreckers there because I'd forgotten the power harness for the power steering motor, so that plugs in over here, and now I can run power to this too, which is pretty important, so we'll get that done as well. And also power to headlights and to a switch for the headlights, and also a brake light, which I have right here. Actually, it looks wicked. I'm excited to put this on here because it fits the bar pretty nice. This just came from Princess Auto. Little light bar, brake light. It's LED too. So I'll mount that onto that back bar. It'll look wicked. That actually came off my original buggy. I still haven't attached pictures, but on this video I'll attach pictures of my original buggy for you guys, which is really cool to see. It was a complete failure. Like, I'll show you it right now. This is the old buggy right here, completely cut apart. It used to have the engine riding on its own swing arm, and it had a 570 Articat engine, a fan-cooled snowmobile motor. So this is a bit of an upgrade, and that one, the first ride I took it for, I took it out on my road in front of my house, and I rolled it twice and completely demoed it. So that's what led me to, instead of rebuilding that, to build this thing. So it is a cool, long journey. I'm probably, if you want to be technical, like 6 years deep into this project, but really I've only been working on this vehicle for 5 months now, and I'm this far, so we should be running soon. And I work on this alone. I've built every part of this one man, so in a very small, tight space. So let's get some wiring done, and then I'll give you an update in a bit. All the ground's done in the engine here. They all splice into that wire. Spark plug ground splices in here, and they all reach the chassis ground right there. So I added those, and now I'm over here, and the clutch safety switch, I looked that up, and you can just splice that together and make sure that you don't start it in gear. It'll just make sure you're neutral when you start it, because it will start in any gear. So, well, I always pull the clutch in anyway when I start something, actually, now that I think about that, so we'll be golden. That's just a standard thing, so I'm going to solder that together, and then also I got to do the same thing to the kickstand safety switch, and then I'm going to run some wires for the brakes and headlights. Guys, so this is wired all the way up to the key switch, speedometer, the kill switch, and starter button are just right here like this. I can sort this out soon after the fact. And staying up here, I got the controller right here. That's the little controller for the power steering unit. Got it all plugged in, wired up, and the pentometer there hooked up for that. And I'm probably just gonna mount that up here somewhere like that. Then back here at the engine, I got the plug wired up for the fan, and all of this stuff's grounded now too. Comes all the way down right to there. Thermostat for the rad. It's ran up here. All the wiring in here is done. And in. No slack in anything. It's all nice and tight. And then we're right up to here now. So, back here, I just, this is a harness for the fuel pump. I took the slack out of all the wires, tightened them taut, and resoldered them so it was a nice straight line from the harness. Then did the same to these wires for the ECU. Pulled all the slack out, and there's quite a bit of soldering in there I had to do. It looked like this right here, actually. So now you can see how all these wires are different lengths now going to this fuse box. So basically what I'm doing is cutting every wire and resoldering them the same length so it looks nice in the harness. And we should be done here, and I'm gonna hook a battery up to it and turn the key and see if we got power. And actually the power steering should work too. See if that works. Guys, the wiring harness is complete minus the taillight, which is pretty good here. I just got a battery and a charger hooked up to it right here for now. I'll show you rock run. It looks a little messy in here right now, but that's just because there's no battery in it, no fuse box, but I can organize that up pretty quickly now. I've showed you all that wiring back here. Anyhow, I even wired up the power steering to one of my, I needed some ignition power there, switch power, so I added that in, and now the power steering works too. As you can see, it's actually it's relatively stiff right now. When I turn that on, you should hear this click. I'm gonna turn the pentometer. Actually, I just heard it click right there. You might have heard it. That was it turning on. And then when I turn this pentometer, you should hear it click again. Okay, maybe not, but now I turn the pentometer all the way on, so this should be full power assist. And as you can see, when I'm turning it, I can feel the motor in there really like playing with it, like it's super easy now. And I'll turn that all the way off. There we go, now the steering's stiff again. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, pretty crazy. Looking good. I don't want to play with the starter yet until I have fuel on the fuel pump, because that's really hard on it. So we should be starting this very soon.